Greene County, Tennessee, satanic panic propaganda. Brainwashing the people's minds for years. As of 2025, 28 years to be exact. Berkeley Bell, the prosecuting attorney, telling lie after lie. First responder witness telling him no, it's just not true. Karen Howell was 17. She froze in fear after witnessing murder. There was never any gun residue on her clothing. And they even said that they wanted to make them look bad. Another example of mainstream media ruining people's lives, running with lies, is Taylor Taranto and Jeff Winehouse. Karen's mental health was never explored, never discussed, hidden completely under the rug. Severe depression and PTSD from sexual abuse. Zero coping skills other than to shut down. Or to cut herself, hurt herself to feel better, take away the pain. And that's exactly what happened on that horrific day when Jason killed an entire family, with the youngest child that he shot surviving. Karen shut down. She froze in fear. Karen had zero prior knowledge what was going to happen with that family at that rest stop where she asked to stop to go pee. Karen's only crime was not being able to stop that lunatic that did kill that family. The judge said she failed to stop the carnage. Karen was completely shut down, catatonic. Crystal Sturgill, another innocent woman in this case, she was hysterical so much that Jason threatened to shoot her if she didn't shut up. I think you would be lying if you told me that you've never in life been out with friends and shit has happened that was completely out of your control. You may not have gotten in trouble and went to prison for it. Except she barely knew Jason and grew up in prison.
Which holds one race inferior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Everywhere is war.
This is Echoes of Injustice, the Karen Howell story. Imagine living 28 years behind bars for witnessing a crime you had no part in. A teenager trapped in a legal nightmare that stole her entire life. Karen Howell was just 17, catatonic with fear, and not an accomplice to murder. Yet she sits in prison for life without parole. Is this the justice we stand for? In 1997, fear over satanic panic created a moral frenzy, paving the way for lies and propaganda that led to Karen Howell's wrongful conviction. How did we let a terrified teenager become a scapegoat for a society gripped by fear and misinformation? This is the paradigm we must break. At 17, Karen Howell should have been planning her future. Instead, she was handed a life sentence for witnessing murder she could not stop. In a small town, whispers of injustice echo through the streets.
Karen Howell sits behind bars, convicted not for pulling the trigger, but for failing to stop a crime she had no control over.
The prosecutor, Berkeley Bell, spun tales of guilt, but the evidence tells a different story.
No gunpowder residue on her hands, no bodies laid in a cross as he claimed.
Yet the rumors persist, shielding the truth from those who dare to seek it.
Prosecutor Berkeley Bell, relentless in his pursuit of a conviction, saw Karen Howell not as a teenager wrongfully accused, but as a target for his own career aspirations. Alongside him, attorney Eric Second spun a web of lies, each thread woven from the darkest corners of their imaginations. Karen Howell, a mere witness, became the canvas for their grotesque projections. What they didn't anticipate was the cost of their deceit, a life unjustly trapped behind bars. Ambition and lies can destroy innocence.
They found her when she was 6 weeks old. Her and a couple of her siblings, they had been abandoned.
Denver, when he first come in, he had been starving himself. He hid from everybody. He was terrified of people. Denver was really, really shut down.
Yeah. But to bring the program full circle, they needed a certified trainer. Elta Woodliff is a woman who is committed to the concept of positive reinforcement. It's April, and all the dogs in the program will be leaving in June. Elta has been able to arrange a pizza party in honor of Brownie's graduation. The late Dr. Leo Bustad of the University of Washington was already a pioneer in the field of animal-human bond research in the early 80s. That's when he met a woman whose childhood was so traumatic that she was committed 36 times to 14 different institutions. She became homeless, but she was rescued in part by the bond she had with her dog. Dr. Bustad enlisted her aid, and together they started the first prison dog program. On our last visit to Luttrell, we found some changes. Denver, Dana, Bonnie, and Bella had left the program the week before. While the new puppies helped take their minds off the departure of the last group, the separation was still too much for Karen Howell.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay. She really meant a lot to you.
She was my heart. I guess it's kind of like someone having a pet, you know, in the free world, and it's almost like grieving. Even though I knew she wouldn't mind. She was, you know, she was very, very special.
There was always something much deeper going on here than just a prison program. Part of it was the miracle of watching a real dog emerge over time. But it was also seeing these women trying to free themselves from the negativity that brought them here in the first place. That's when the journey of self-discovery is mirrored in both dog and inmate. Gone is the fear that had previously acted as a barrier. And in that moment, the only thing that exists is a kind of hope. Hope in a most unlikely place.
Karen is one of the most amazing dog trainers and rehabilitators that I have ever met. Excuse me. A lot of what I know comes from her about dogs. Karen is beautiful inside and out. And unless you've met her and talked to her, heard her side, there's no way that you can say different. You're going off of fake news media if you do say differently.
Justice can only become a warping concept in that society. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. Free Karen now. From this paradigm, this paradigm. The hysteria of a witch hunt is granted supremacy over logic, values in the spirit of law. Justice can only become a warm, daily concept in that society. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. of justice. This is paradigm. Free Karen Howell. Free Karen Howell. Hysteria of the witch hunt is granted supremacy over logic, values in the spirit of law.
Medications withheld, severe PTSD, depression, and more. During that deal with the real devils,
Justice can only become a warm, baby concept in that society. Illusion of justice. This is paradigm. Free Karen Howell. Free Karen Howell.
you or your daughter or your niece or your daughter's friend or your friend, your mom, your aunt, whatever, could be Karen. Very easily, you could be Karen. Very easily, you could be Jeff Winehouse. Very easily, you could be Taylor Taranto.
Imagine being 17, witnessing a crime, and end up in prison for the rest of your life. 28 years, she's been hidden away, locked up on paranoia, not facts. Free Karen Howell. This is paradigm. 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 From this paradigm. Imagine being 17, witnessing a crime, and end up in prison for the rest of your life. 28 years she's been hidden away, locked up on paranoia, not facts. Free Karen Howell. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm.
You can't make up fake evidence and then have the first responder there guy saying, no, that's not how it happened. I was there. But that's how it happened in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Hey, look over there. A satanic panic. You're under attack. Attack on your mind where logic no longer exists, but comes from a box you turned on with the flip of a switch. Corruption is feeding your brains with junk theories and opinion. Silence from the people was loud to that teenage girl who was railroaded in paradigm on that courtroom floor. Free Karen Howell. The illusion of justice. This is paradigm. Paradigm.
28 years.
Free Karen Howell. Free
Wakey, wakey, Tennessee. Your government uses you to profit from these people. Let Karen go. The Supreme Court ruled that juveniles should not be sentenced to life without parole because they do change, they do grow. And Karen has grown. 28 years in prison. Every single day there's a class or something is going on for rehabilitation.
The hysteria of a witch hunt is granted supremacy over logic, values in the spirit of law. Justice can only become a warped alien concept in that society.
You have allowed mainstream media and a very corrupt and broken system program you.
The hysteria of a witch hunt is granted supremacy over logic, values in the spirit of law. Justice can only become a warped alien concept in that society. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. This is paradigm. The hysteria of a witch hunt is granted supremacy over logic, values in the spirit of law. Justice can only become a warped alien concept in that society. The hysteria of a witch hunt is granted supremacy over logic, values
Before we begin, a short disclaimer. Although we use humor and a bit of sarcasm here and there in order to highlight the absurdity of the media in this case, and especially the Greene County DA's office, we take murder very seriously, and we find absolutely nothing funny about an innocent family getting gunned down in cold blood. We've said it before and we'll say it again. This was a tragedy. It should never have happened, and something like this should never happen again. So, with that said, let's get started. After debunking the myth of the prosecution's natural-born killers-inspired murder spree the other day, it dawned on us that many newcomers not know the story of what is commonly known in the media as the Lily Lid murders. There are several badly inaccurate and ridiculous tabloid-inspired documentary videos and podcasts out there that have distorted this case almost beyond recognition at this point. So hopefully this will clear some of that up. Everything you hear for the next few minutes will be based on interviews, testimony, evidence, and the facts as we know them. If there is any opinion expressed, you can rest assured that it is opinion based on these facts and evidence, which are gleaned from almost 20 years of our research. It is not based on the rumors and misinformation you so easily find on the internet, which has, to be honest, polluted this case like COVID in a phone booth. On April 6, 1997, Jason Blake Bryant, probation, murdered 3 innocent people and left another for dead in a roadside ditch. The family's name was Lily Lid, Alfina, and their 2 small children, Tabitha and Peter. Only Peter survived. Earlier in the evening, Jason and 5 others, Joe Reisner, Natasha Cornett, Karen Howell, Crystal Sturgill, and Dean Mullins, had met the family at a Tennessee rest stop while driving south to New Orleans. Seeing that the family had a van which would suit them better than the small car they were driving in, Jason and Joe decided to kidnap the Lily Lids and take their vehicle. They drove to a secluded spot several miles away where Joe ordered the family out of the van while he and Jason contemplated what to do. Joe was unsure. Karen said, "Let's just go." But Jason, fearful of being identified and reported to his parole officer, was for killing them. Ignoring the pleas of Karen and Natasha to not hurt the family, Jason began firing at them while the others ducked for cover. When the killing was finished, Jason yelled at everyone to get into the van. Crystal Sturgill, who was sobbing hysterically, was warned by Jason to shut the F up or you'll end up just like them. Joe, who was at the wheel, ran over the bodies as they sped off. They drove on for 2 days. There was very little talk among them for the rest of the trip. Jason had already outright threatened to murder Crystal, and during the drive whispered to Natasha his desire to kill her, quote, geeky boyfriend, Dean Mullins. After seeing him callously gun down the Lily Lids, nobody doubted it. Nobody doubted that he would have no problem killing anyone in the van either. In fact, when he later accidentally shot himself while reloading one of the guns, Karen, who was sitting in the seat in front of him, thought for a brief moment that he'd shot her. 48 hours later, they were apprehended while trying to cross the border. They had earlier changed the destination from New Orleans to Mexico because Jason insisted he was on probation and didn't want to risk getting caught. Being minors, he and Karen were taken to a juvenile detention center where Jason instructed Karen not to talk to anyone but himself. He later whispered that he was going to try and get shot by one of the guards. Other inmates at the facility have testified that Jason bragged to everyone that he killed the Lily Lids. In fact, he admitted it to Officer Deborah Mackey that he had murdered Vidar Lily Lid because he was trying to, quote, rob me. But Officer Mackey's testimony was never allowed because Jason had not been read his rights yet. He later changed his story, one of many times he would do so depending on whom he was telling the story to. Officer Mackey, who had much experience dealing with violent youthful criminals, gave her opinion to the administrators of this page that she believed that Karen was just a scared kid who found herself in a bad situation. Definitely not a bad kid or a criminal. The 6 were extradited back to Tennessee, where a howling mob of angry citizens awaited them. Insults and threats were hurled about, the mob deciding they were all guilty. Natasha retained the services of Eric Kahn, a flashy attorney who decided that an insanity plea was her best bet. He quickly began to feed the story-hungry local news media reports of satanic forces and evil underworld allegiances that his client allegedly had made. His inappropriate behavior and maneuverings led to the judge dismissing him, but the damage had been done, and the trickle-down effect it had on Karen and the others was devastating. Soon the newspapers and tabloids were screaming with headlines, all of which fed into the deepest fears of the God-fearing local populace. An ugly lynch mob mentality began to develop, and people began to see the 6 not as a group of individuals with varying degrees of culpability, but rather how the media had packaged and presented them as an evil satanic mini-cult. One local diner even went so far as to display 6 hangman's nooses up on their sign, which overlooked the busy highway. Obviously, the American legal adage, innocent until proven guilty, had been completely disregarded by the locals. The assigned judge apparently agreed with the popular consensus and, despite this extreme prejudice, denied a request for a separate trial for each defendant, which he would later admit he regretted. Karen was assigned an inexperienced young attorney who had never won or even worked a murder trial before, let alone representing a minor in a high-profile, high-pressure murder case. To the best of our knowledge, he never would again. The DA admitted that he could only prove that Jason was the shooter. The GSR report showed he had gunshot residue all over him. But, like the mob outside the courthouse, the DA wanted to color them all, regardless of levels of culpability. So after months of legal actions and storing up tales of evil in the media, he cooked up a last-minute plea bargain. Joe, Natasha, Dean, and Crystal would all be facing the death penalty if convicted. Being minors exempted both Jason and Karen from the sentence. But if they all pled guilty to first-degree murder, then the death penalty would be thrown out and the punishment would be at the discretion of the judge. But all 6 had to agree unanimously. If one didn't cop to the plea bargain, then the deal was off. They had 48 hours to decide. Seeing that the chance of a fair trial was slim to none and not wanting to see their friends killed for a crime they didn't commit, all 6 signed. Karen wanted to go to trial and held out as long as she could, but eventually caved in despite the pleas of her family not to sign the plea bargain. On March 13, 1998, the judge predictably ordered all of them to spend the rest of their lives behind bars without the possibility of parole, the stiffest penalty allowed under Tennessee law. The ruling has been appealed many times over the years. Each time, the appeals have been shot down and the plea bargain upheld. Despite never having killed anyone, Karen Howell has spent over 2 decades behind bars. Needless to say, Satanic Panic was alive and well in 1998, and in this case, DA Berkeley Bell ran with it right out of the starting gate. According to Bell, the items found on some of the defendants when they were apprehended at the Mexican border were satanic trophies, taken to memorialize the murders of the family. Among the items were a Hello Kitty locket with Karen, a set of keys on Crystal, and a belt buckle belonging to Vidar Lilylid on Natasha. Like most of the DA's claims, these are completely and provably untrue, but the myths have gained momentum thanks to social media and are repeated ad nauseum on the internet by tabloid media junkies. Anyone who bothers to do even a simple examination of the facts, testimony, and evidence will also find these to be myths and nothing more. Or, to put it more blatantly, lies meant to sway the favor of an outraged public into the DA's favor. Sadly, it worked. First of all, it is serial killers who are the twisted individuals that are known to take items from their victims as a sort of trophy. The last we checked the record, none of these 6 defendants was a serial killer, so that nixes that. Let us also point out that there was 0 evidence of anything having been taken off of the bodies of this unfortunate family. This was a terribly bloody scene, and any physical contact would have surely resulted in blood or DNA of some kind on any would-be trophy hunters, wouldn't it? Or at the very least, investigators would have found some traces of it in the carpet or seats of the van they inhabited for the next 48 hours. Well, guess what? There was none. That alone should raise some questions, some serious questions in the mind of any clear-thinking individual as to the credibility of the DA and his claims. Now, getting to his so-called trophies, the belt buckle Natasha had on her was not Vidar Lilylid's at all. And in fact, there is no report anywhere of a buckle being cut from any belt he might have been wearing. It was simply an item she kept in a pouch. According to friends, she had all kinds of random things in there, like a torn piece of fabric, etc. We don't know for sure where she got it or why she had it, but what we do know is that it didn't belong to Mr. Lilylid, and it was definitely not a murder trophy. Karen Howell has stated that she found the Hello Kitty locket on the floor of the van at some point during their long drive towards Mexico, and she idly picked it up and put it in her pocket. She knew it was that it most likely belonged to one of the children. She later said, "I saw them shot and Tabitha murdered. If I didn't remember them, who would?" Ask anyone who knew her even a little bit, and they will tell you that that sounds like Karen, not some satanic little witch out to keep ghoulish trophies from murdered children, as the DA tried to make her out to be. Crystal Sturgill, who had the keys on her, had this to say. "The van had a messed up battery. Every time it was turned off, we had to use jumper cables to get it going again. Joe told me to carry the extra set of keys so we could leave the van running and still lock the doors, or in case we needed them. I had forgotten they were in my pocket when the Border Patrol was searching me. It seemed inconsequential at the time." So to sum it all up, here is what Karen had to say in a podcast interview. I couldn't believe the district attorney made all those claims. How dare he put those thoughts and images into the heads of that grieving family? Hadn't they suffered enough? Now he wants to pile on all these lies about satanic rituals and trophies and laughter and bodies stacked into the shape of upside-down crosses? It's so horrible and so wrong of him to do that just to bolster his case. Well, there you go. A practical and sensible answer. Not as exciting or titillating as the satanic trophies theory, but there it is. So why would we doubt the testimony when there is zero evidence that refutes it? Is there proof that points us in a different direction? No. Should we doubt testimony simply because the prosecution insists that these were satanic trophies? This is the same prosecution, as Karen points out, that spread the outright lie that the bodies were arranged in the form of a cross, a myth debunked by not only the forensic evidence, but by the first responders themselves.
Ever done. I had all intention and wanted to go to trial, even still, the first day that the plea bargain was introduced. David Leonard came to me, David, my attorney at the time, and told me about the plea and said I had 3 days to think about the offer before I made my final decision. It seemed like from there, the pressure was just coming at all angles about this offer. David was telling me that if I don't agree to this plea bargain and I decided to stand trial, the jury will most likely give Sturgill, Burnett, Roger, and Mullins the death sentence. I remember on the second day, David came and informed me that all 5 of my co-defendants had already accepted the plea bargain. I mean, that just added a ton of pressure, weight on me. It was as though, he was saying, you're the only one left. It's up to you to decide their fate. That's how I felt. But even on the second day, I still couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I didn't want to plead guilty to murder. I didn't want anyone else to die either. During that time when the plea bargain was offered, I just wasn't emotionally and mentally capable of bearing that weight of 4 people getting the death sentence if I didn't take the plea agreement. On the third day, that my decision had to be made, I caved. My attorney explained to me that I would be pleading guilty to felony murder. In my mind, even though I was going to plead guilty to felony murder to keep this getting the death penalty, I felt like I could also continue to maintain my innocence of murder. But in all actuality, I didn't think I was signing my life away to grow old and die in here.
The most common question we get from people regarding this case is, why didn't Karen try to stop the murders? Our answer is, she did. She pleaded with everyone that they should just go and leave the family alone. The response is usually a very angry, well, that's not enough. And then they go on to explain in detail how they, of course, would have been the hero and tried to save the day during a sudden and outrageously violent triple murder. Not to sound overly smug or sarcastic, but let's be honest here. These online heroes do their moral grandstanding from behind the safety of a computer screen and with the clarity of hindsight. Needless to say, we don't have as much faith in their starry-eyed teenage heroics as they seem to. It's basically, Monday morning quarterbacking, and it's to be expected in this day and age. But the first responder on the scene of the Lillard murders, Officer Frank Waddell, weighed in on this. Frank is held in the highest esteem in Greene County, and his word on anything is not scoffed at or taken lightly. In an interview for the Devil Came Knocking podcast, Officer Waddell was asked if Karen could have stopped the carnage. This was his response: no. Karen didn't have a choice. If she tried to stop it, she would have been killed too. Just another body in the ditch. The other first responder, Officer Jeff Morgan, concurred with Frank. Both officers would later also agree that the bodies of the victims were not laid out in the shape of a cross, as District Attorney Berkeley Bell has stated numerous times on record. It's too bad Karen's case never went to trial. It would have been justice to hear both officers refute the DA's false narratives in front of a packed courtroom. Karen has thousands of supporters, some of whom are former soldiers and law enforcement officers. They are experts on this subject and have much to say on it. This quote is from a supporter who wrote in named Mike. I'm an ex-Army Ranger, and I have seen a lot, but all soldiers, man or woman, don't react the same. I believe she should not be in prison at all. So many prayers for her. This is from supporter John, who was a little more blunt. I'm a retired Army Staff Sergeant and a former Texas police officer. I can't tell you how many soldiers I served with who were scared stiff at the thought of possibly dying and froze up. They can't even shoot. So that's bull about being the hero. That's keyboard commando crap. Strong stuff from John. If nothing else, these quotes highlight that even law officers and trained soldiers can become frightened and disoriented, rendering them incapable of responding in the manner they rehearsed in their heads, or even in the way they were trained for years to respond. There have been books written covering the subject of freezing up and shutting down during times of violence, like Lieutenant Dave Grossman's On Killing, which we highly recommend. Here are a few excerpts. Then came the day of combat, the day for which he had drilled and marched for so long. And with that day came the destruction of all of his preconceptions and delusions about what would happen. In the midst of the confusing, the firing, the screams, the wounded, the soldiers revert to doing what comes naturally. Some shout orders, some run, a few wander off in the smoke or find a convenient low spot to sink into, and a very few, actually shoot back. That's powerful insight and very telling. Even in recent years, we've seen cases where armed and trained professionals freeze up in fear during a murder, like in 2018 when a Florida deputy failed to confront a school shooter during a 6-minute attack inside a classroom, resulting in several people being murdered. The brilliant Dr. Viktor Frankl had this to say: an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal behavior. If Dr. Frankl were still with us, we think he would have a lot to teach us about Karen's reaction to what she saw on that awful day. Same for Crystal Sturgill and Dean Mullins. But even after hearing all of this, many of those Monday morning QBs will still insist that they would have been the hero that day, that they would have known exactly what to do and would have done so without failure had they only been there. To those people, we suggest doing a thorough study on this subject, about how people react when witnesses to violent death of this nature. Talk to ex-soldiers or lawmen who know what it's like when guns start firing and bodies start dropping amid screams and blood and chaos. They might be surprised to learn that chances are they wouldn't be the situational supermen that they're envisioning in their heads, never mind when they were mere teenagers and not fully developed mentally and emotionally. Toss in the fact that several of these defendants had troubled backgrounds and a long documented history of poor coping skills, and it becomes even more clear why they weren't able to do more to stop what happened.
On April 6, 1997, then 2-year-old Peter, 6-year-old Tabitha, and their parents, Vidar and Delphina Lillywhite, were driving back home to Knoxville from Johnson City. At a rest stop in Greene County, a chance meeting with 6 young people from Kentucky turned deadly. They kidnapped the family, forced Vidar to drive his van to a remote road in order to steal it, lined them up along a ditch, and gunned them down. Peter, shot twice, was the sole survivor. He lost an eye and the ability to walk without assistance. 2 days later, the killers were caught in the stolen van at the Arizona-Mexico border crossing. Back in Greene County, an angry mob was waiting.
I was pleading and begging, please, just leave it alone, let's just go. I wish my voice had echoed loud as a crack of a thunderstorm. Our voices in tears, I wish they'd been enough, but he took them anyway. He shattered their dreams, our dreams too. He took their lives, he took our lives too. He took everything from everyone, I wish we all could have run. I was pleading and begging, please, just leave them alone, let's just go. I wish my voice had echoed loud as a crack of a thunderstorm. Crack of a storm. I was so scared for everyone. I'm so thankful Peter made it through. Wish it never happened. I wish there was something I can do or say. So many things I wish for you. I was pleading and begging, please, just leave them alone, let's just go. I wish my voice had echoed loud as a crack of a thunderstorm. I couldn't stop him and I hear it all, I see it all, the voice in my head. I wish was powerful, so powerful, to stop the one with the gun, but I can't stop shutting down. I'm sorry, and it won't go away, and I wish I could change everything. I'm sorry, Peter. I wish our voices and tears had been enough. I'm sorry. our voices and tears had been enough. It's everything from everyone.
In the year 2025, could the echoes of satanic panic still find a foothold in America?
Many would argue that society has moved past such hysteria, yet there remain those who cling to discredited theories, repeating the same fallacies disproven decades ago.
The case of Karen Howell stands as a testament to the need for justice, a reminder that some continue to suffer the consequences of past moral panics.
It's a chilling thought. Could history repeat itself, or have we truly learned from the past?
You can learn more at the Justice for Karen Howell Facebook.
Satanic panic theories projected as facts, regurgitated by fools making freedom complex. This is paradigm, free Karen Howell. Free Karen Howell. But when the hysteria of a witch hunt is granted supremacy over logic, values in the spirit of law, justice can only become a warped zombie concept in that society. The illusion of justice, this is paradigm, free Karen Howell. Satanic panic theories projected as facts, regurgitated by fools making freedom complex. This is paradigm, free Karen Howell. Free Karen Howell. Free Karen Howell. Free Karen Howell.
Be sure to check out the Bonfire Tea link in the description of all the videos and the About section. T-shirts help create awareness for everybody that reads your tea, even on cameras everywhere. People see your t-shirt and they're going to read it, and they might go research. Depending how much you purchase and what you purchase is what I get for profits, which is usually around $3 to $7 per product sold, unless you leave a tip. That money is how I'm able to keep my device on, to keep awareness going for so many people done so wrong, whether by it's the government or other people. I'm always there to help expose the truth, even if it's with their own words. If you have a t-shirt idea, just get a hold of me on one of these platforms, give me your idea, and I'll turn it into some merch for you.